Okay, so we're here at Ant Wofati, and this is the extent of the construction thus far. And tell us about the cob on the roof.
So the idea here is to minimize mouse habitat. I noticed a lot of mice like to live in the cracks in the logs behind the between the logs and the plastic and the other wofatis that have been built, and I'd like to. They're cobbing over it after the fact to try to solve that problem. I'd like to solve the problem before it's a problem by cobbing it over here. This mix of cob is like it's maybe half clayey sand from over by Dances with Pigs Meadow. We found sort of a vein there of like near cob, like ready mixed stuff basically, and then about half cow pies that I've gathered and had soaking for a few days, smushed up a little bit, and then there's a handful of straw thrown in for binding. And you can kind of see that from the underneath side. I'll still need to do some finish work, but there won't be gaps for mice to live in, and I'm going to cover up some of the pointier bits on the logs on the top to make the first membrane go on a little smoother, less worry about the logs poking through it.
Tell me about the shoring that you're planning on that wall that you're up against here.
Right, so there's 3 posts that are set in the ground. This one, that middle one, and that one there, and then there's this sort of sill beam or whatever this is here that's running just outside the bottom. It's sort of notched onto these, and it's all tied in. It's all fastened with timber lock screws. And then there's these 7 uprights that basically make the gaps that the retaining wall, or that the shoring is going to be spanning shorter. So these end up being between 2.5 to almost 3 feet gaps and spans instead of this is like 7 or 6 feet.
Okay.
And
so it'll be
using milled lumber for the shoring.
Mm-hmm. Milled lumber.
So that I don't have to do all that cobbing between all the gaps to avoid mouse habitat. The lumber's going to butt right up against each other and should go on really quickly. And that'll be this whole wall. The side walls will be milled lumber.
Okay, so tell us about that end wall there that I'd like to call a capping wall.
Sure. I won't be installing it until after I've finished the side walls, finished cobbing the roof, and put all the dirt that is going to go up there on, so that any settling that is going to happen, maybe we'll have most of that settling happen first before I add windows. So these walls will be as much light as I can get through. Anywhere that isn't windows is maybe going to be bottles, different colored bottles with cob in between, the cob mortar, or a door here. And anywhere that isn't those things will be, so like up here, 3 feet high, this will be bermed behind it with dry earth. It'll slope down and away. And ideally this side would have kitchen sink here, looking out this window, and a valve where I could divert the gray water either directly out into some gray water treatment plants that will be growing in this mid-berm here, this knee-high berm, I guess, or directly into a bucket where I can use the gray water somewhere else.
And so you'll have the window mid-level up, and then you'll have something meeting the roof from below.
Right. In
that wall, and so you're thinking possibly bottles with cob to allow more light in. And we also discussed lateral bracing from left to right here, if you will.
Yeah, I'm thinking maybe logs that'll, repeating sort of what I was doing down here, but with logs that meet here, and also some that go all the way across, and they'd all be fastened together and tie the whole thing together laterally. I think that does make sense. And
that's what I was getting at, was that it's something that I think this structure is missing from left to right in the bracing all throughout the structure. Yes, it's freestanding right now, and we talked about how the roof does a little bit of lateral bracing, but Ayler told us that we should equally cover one side up against its shoring wall, equally one side, then the other side, then the other side, then the other side. in order to equal out these forces that are pushing in on our walls.
Yeah, it's really important to bury it symmetrically. I learned that in the last Wofati that I built. An initial burying, it the top shifted over maybe a few inches anyway, and I had to dig back out and rebury more symmetrically. Eventually it turned out okay, but it was very scary there for a moment. And definitely the plan is simultaneous, or as symmetrically earth sheltered as possible. The forces are equal, but I do like the idea of more lateral bracing, and so the least insulated points are going to be the windows, and I'd like to have on the inside quilted curtain that could be drawn, or shades that can be pulled down over in the winter when I'm not getting any solar gain through there, and I don't need to be necessarily looking out of the view. Have extra insulation that goes sort of.
And then a related topic is putting our windows in last.
Right.
Because of the settling of the roof, we don't want to pop out the window.
Right. It seems like that may have been what cracked the windows in Wofati 0.7, is that the windows were installed, and then as it settled, they cracked. So if not even maybe, because I don't know how long the settling will take, maybe I don't even cob the very top, and I'm losing a little bit of air gap there, but I'm allowing room for it to settle before finishing it, or at least installing the windows well after I've added all the dirt is part of the plan to try to avoid that.
Okay, thank you so much for the rich substance, and I have wonderful footage for today. Thank you.